Hey there, welcome to this episode of the HerBusiness podcast. I'm your host, Susie Daphnis. I'm the CEO at HerBusiness, and today we have a fantastic topic lined up for you. Now, this podcast is dedicated to helping women entrepreneurs navigate the exciting but sometimes challenging world of business ownership. And in this episode, we're thrilled to have Laura Elkaslassy, a seasoned entrepreneur and a business strategist who's going to be sharing her insights on a topic that many of us grapple with, and that is achieving profitability and sustainable growth in our business. Now, money, profit, they're one of the most misunderstood topics when it comes to running a business. In fact, way too many business owners run away from the topics of money and profit, finances, all those wealth-related things, and that's exactly why we're excited about this episode of the HerBusiness podcast. Now, Laura and I are going to be diving into the power of the Profit First methodology, which is a transformative approach that really prioritizes profitability and can revolutionize your business's financial health. We're also going to be talking about the importance of having a clear money strategy and understanding your numbers, which is a crucial aspect of business that can often feel intimidating, but is key to your success. But this episode isn't just about the numbers. It's also about the mindset shifts that are necessary to transition into the role of CEO in your business and the personal practices that can help maintain focus and balance as you do that. It's all about overcoming that guilt that can sometimes come with wanting to be profitable, wanting to be rich even, that's a word that's really loaded, and embracing the fact that profitability isn't just about money, it's also about purpose. So whether you're struggling with mindset, feeling unsure about your numbers, or really wrestling with this desire to be more successful financially, to be more profitable, this episode is for you. Grab a pen because you're going to want to take some notes. Hey Laura, welcome to the summit.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks, Susie.
I'm excited about this conversation because you're in this kind of unique situation where you have 4 businesses. 4?
Yes,
what?
yes, I do.
When did you start your first business?
My first business actually started in 2007. I was actually not living in Australia. Fun fact, I came back to Australia in 2014 and I lived in many different places, but I always had this business to keep me tied to Australia and, hedging my bets, I guess.
Well, again, having 4 businesses is kind of hedging your bets. I remember a time where I had 4 businesses, and I have to say, I'll ask you a little later, I, in the end, got burnt out, but maybe I just didn't move them along quickly enough or something. I'm not sure, but we'll come back to that one. So often we see the $100,000 mark as a milestone where business owners, when they hit it, they think, oh, I've got something here. I might be able to grow this. Do you remember that moment? What did that moment feel like for you?
That's an awesome question because the $100,000 I find is such a goal that's generally out there, especially in the online business world and that sort of thing. And for me, for a long time, my initial business was very much a side thing. So I wouldn't call it a hustle because it was something that was really easy and flowy whenever it kind of came based on what I was doing. But there came a point where I was back in Australia and I'm like, no, I really want to do this full time. And I also had sort of personal circumstances where I'd become a single mother and that sort of thing. And so it wasn't so much about the 100,000, but it was more about what do I need to earn to be able to look after myself and my son at the time and that sort of thing, and not kill myself working as well. Yes. And so it ended up being a bit more than the 100,000 that I needed to do all of the things. But once I got there, my goodness, I felt like I'd proven to myself I could do it, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. I know what you mean. And I think that's part of it. Now, for you, it was slightly more than 100. I know, we have members where, they've left a corporate role and they've built a business and the first goal was to replace that salary. And I'm thinking of one person in particular, it was 150,000. So when she got to that, she was like, okay, I'm good. Now from here I can grow. And so you've gone on to build multiple businesses and to get over the 7-figure mark. But you say that has never been the goal. That the revenue is never the goal. It's not where it's at. Tell us what you mean.
All right. So just like the $100,000, I think is a revenue goal that people strive for without it being meaningful. I think it's similar for 7 figures. And I guess my biggest pet peeve is when we're always talking top line revenue. So the $1 million mark, the 100,000, whatever it is, when in actual fact, you can have $1 million business and no money because you're not profitable. And so I've really focused on the profitability of the business. And then that kind of works out the top line for you.
Because I really believe you can have a profitable, sustainable business at any level if you're paying attention to the numbers. And the revenue goal can be a little of an ego goal. But if that's what gets you to move forward, I think as long as you're then looking at the profitability, you're going to have a business that's sustainable. And your work is specifically helping business owners create profitable businesses. And so where do we go wrong as business owners when it comes to how we think about our business finances, our money?
The biggest thing, and this is where I'm totally going to be like, profit first, is that we are all about sales. Like, let's get more sales. If I earn more money, it's all going to work out. It's going to get easier as it gets bigger. And it's a normal mindset to have, and it's one that we fall back into. And I still find myself going, what else can I sell? Do you know what I mean? When really that's not the answer to things. And instead, putting your profit first and realizing what profit, cash profit, I'm not saying those reports where, you have a profit, but you don't actually have the cash in the bank, and then ensuring that you have the money to pay yourself, the money to keeping the operating expenses under control and all of that. And so I really think that we need to move out of I need to earn more to feel better, do better, be more profitable, because it's not how it works.
And you do know how it works. This is what you do. This is what you do inside of your business every single day, how you mentor people, how you coach them, the education you provide. And it would be crazy having you here and not having you, share with us what strategies do you use to be profitable that you also teach others?
Well, the biggest strategy, and I guess the first strategy that I put in place personally, and I'll tell you a little story in a second, is profit first. And the reason, when I first came across profit first.
People may not know what it is. It's a fabulous book by Mike Michalowicz. Do you want to say more?
Yeah, sure. So, Profit First is a cash flow methodology, but no, don't roll your eyes and don't tune out. It's more about the human behavior behind it. So, as a human being, we look at our bank accounts, we make decisions from our bank accounts. And so Profit First is all about setting it up, just like the envelope system when your grandma used to put, money aside in envelopes. Yes. It's a similar principle. And it is about giving a purpose to your money and being really clear about what's yours, what isn't, what goes to the tax office and all of that.
And I'm sure Profit First is exactly where your clients start. And there's a whole methodology, as you said, and it's explained in your programs and it's explained in the book. But what are some of the strategies, other than the apportioning different money to different accounts, which is part of the methodology, what other strategies have helped you become profitable? Is it the way you market? Is it the way that what is it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So with the money piece in place, it's allowed me to really leverage other strategies. So one of them being key marketing strategies that actually work for my business and aren't just something that, feels like you're throwing spaghetti at the wall. And that is, being part of masterminds, like I'm part of the HerBusiness marketing mastermind. And I've also had mentors at certain stages and that sort of thing. But it's also about really getting clear on what your, not exit, but end goal is and what you're wanting to do. Are you wanting to have more of a lifestyle business, or are you wanting to really grow a particular empire? Neither's right or wrong. It's being really clear on that and then utilizing the strategies behind it. And I think the biggest piece is I've always worked on me, because generally if I'm the problem, everything's the problem.
Tell me about that. Tell me, how do you work on you?
Yeah, so I've got a number of sort of practices that I have in place, but I actually spent some time very early on in my business working with a mindset mentor where we, got underneath the subconscious beliefs that are running that we're not even aware of, such as, I need to work hard for my money. Well, I was definitely working hard for my money. I'd effectively created a job. You know what I mean? And shifting that mindset then meant that I wouldn't reach for the things or the strategies or the solutions that would just feed into that. It allowed me to open my mind to what else is possible, not necessarily looking at solving these problems that we can get into, such as, we tend to go, I need to sell 10 different things, when really 2 and making it easy could be a lot more profitable. So the mindset was really key, and it's something that I still work on today.
And I think it's just part of, this is why this summit is called the Mastering the Inner and Outer Game of Business, because we can have all the skills and strategies and tips and tricks, but if fundamentally we're the problem, to quote a Taylor Swift song, I'm the problem, it's me, then, we're going to put a lid on our growth. And actually it's been a bit of a pattern, as I've been speaking to women here inside of the summit, that they say, hey, I have actually taken time to get support to work on my mindset. And it's one of my favorite things that we work with, even inside the HerBusiness network. I want to talk about being a CEO, because you've got 4 businesses, as we said, and we're always encouraging women to get out of the day-to-day as much as possible and wear that CEO hat really tightly on their heads in order to have a sustainable business, in order to have a life. Do you like the title CEO?
I actually love it. Hasn't always been the case, but I very much have that hat on. I'm proud of it. I connect to it. And I think what allowed me to really connect to it, because there was a disconnect for a while where it was kind of imposter syndrome. It's like, oh, am I really a CEO, or am I just, the founder of the business and working in it? And it was really what is my role, and clearly defining what type of role I wanted to have in the business. And it was that creative ideas, strategy, and then having a great support system to be able to implement that, and then putting, my stamp on it at the end, and making the bigger picture decisions. I'm actually better at them than the doing, if I'm honest.
Than the doing. But, we all start in that place where we're doing all the things. For and, sure. But when we decide we're going to be the CEO, and this is a point I'm always trying to drive home, if we say, I'm going to be a CEO, the CEO isn't doing all the things. The CEO is doing the strategic things, or the things that are their area of genius, or the biggest strength that they can bring to the business. And part of being a CEO is who are you CEO to? You can be the CEO of a solopreneur business for sure. It's about the mindset. But you said as a micropreneur, which means you've got a small team of people, you said it's all about having the CEO mindset and having clear goals and objectives. And you said that it's, pretty much what we're saying is the mindset of the CEO is different to the person who's like, I have a business, I am the business, I work in the business. So how do you keep staying in the CEO role when there is so much to do, especially when you're balancing a number of businesses?
Well, I won't lie, there is a tendency to get in there and do more than what I should be doing, and maybe I might muck things up if I tend to do that. So I will admit that I'm not perfect in my CEO role. But the biggest thing for me is really ensuring that I stay in my zone of genius, and that, that is where I put all of my energy and effort. But I've also worked on my leadership skills so that I can drive my team in the same direction as me, and they feel supported to take full responsibility and, love what they're doing. And I think that's those 2 things have been absolutely key for me.
Yeah. And I think that, this role of CEO, I've had many women resist because it sounds too elevated, but I think there's such power in words, and it is a word. And if that drives you to bring on team, to step into leadership, to be a better communicator, to delegate more, to get yourself back into your genius zone, then I think wear that role, and wear it proudly. You, as you step into this CEO, because it's not just the role and what you do, it's also the mindset. What have you had to let go of, especially as it relates to any inner dialogue that doesn't support the you that you want to be in your business?
A lot.
You laugh.
In short, a lot. But to answer that with something more practical, I think the biggest thing has been, when I was growing my team, there was a tendency to sort of think, oh, well, it's faster if I just do it myself, or they don't do it my way, it's not quite right, and almost control freaky perfectionist was coming out a lot. And so really letting go of that inner dialogue of that I am actually the best person to do things. I'm not, and it doesn't have to be my way. Others do things differently, and it's actually has a better outcome than what I could ever do. And I know that when I feel squeezed for time, my default is still to go, oh, I'll just do it.
Yes.
Never serves me. So that's an example of that.
Yeah, I find myself just, like there, right on that, and then just go, no. Just step back, step away, let them do it. I wanted to circle back to how you support businesses to grow. And other than the profit first methodology, which is the core of what you teach, are there any other strategies or advice that you would give women who they're just starting to break through, Laura, like they're seeing maybe that $100,000, if that's their marker, and they think, there's something here. I can do something with this. What sort of advice and coaching do you give them around what they should be doing in their businesses?
Well, I really think that there's three main pillars that you need to look at when growing any business, and they are profit, which we've touched on. There's also the energy or the mindset perspective, and again, we've had that conversation here today, but there's also then the strategy that works in with you. So is it a more leveraged thing that you're wanting to sell, or is it a more bespoke, and being really, really clear on what that is, but also the strategy around how you set yourself up and your team and who does what, as well as the entity in which you're trading your business with the end goal in mind. And I think you can't have a really successful business without all three coming together. And so if I was
there's
to give,
quite a lot in that third pillar. Would you just unpack it for me one more time? Because there's something that I've missed that I just want to go back to. Can you just reiterate the things in the third pillar for me?
Yeah, sure. So the third thing is the strategy. So the strategy around what and how you're selling. Then there's also...
So what product, like what your product range is.
Yeah.
Right. Talk to me about that.
So a lot of the time what I found, and let's speak specifically around products for a second, is that we tend to think that more is going to generate us more, when in actual fact, nailing your pricing on your products is more important than having 1,000 products in your product line. And so really being specific around that and reverse engineering your outcomes with what is the easiest strategy or route to get there.
I love this. I know you just recently hosted a masterclass inside of the HerBusiness Network all about pricing. And I think it's a big mistake that people make. They think I need to be selling more things, or I need to be, or even knowing how to price, or knowing, what margins are, or what money's being left on the table, because they're not offering a product or service perhaps at a higher price where their audience is really ready for it. I love that. Strategy. What else was in the third pillar? Energy.
So we've got energy and profit. The energy being how you see yourself, how you feel in your business, what really lights you up and drives that motivation. And we spend a lot of time talking about motivation, but motivation in terms of we tend to get into business with an away from motivation. And what I mean about that is there's something that's challenging. So whether that is we don't like our job, or we need to earn more money for something, so we do something to get away from that feeling. Once that's done, I can often see people hit a ceiling in their business or it go backwards because they haven't found that towards motivation. Like, what is that bigger picture drive? What is the thing that even when it's tough, you want to wake up and you're ready to go to build this business in the way that you see yourself? And so I spend a lot of time in that.
Well, one of the things that's been a common thread again in these interviews with women who are growing and scaling successful businesses has been this conversation about having a clear vision. And when you get a goal, not sabotaging yourself or bypassing the goal, or not celebrating the goal, but celebrating it right there and then, but then creating a newer, more wonderful vision of where you want to go and then figuring out how to get there. And I think people underestimate vision. It feels like a little soft, but I think it's critical. I think we always need to come back to, why am I doing this? Where am I even going on a, long term? How many years have you been in business?
Oh, too many. I'm joking. It's been more than 15 years.
More than 15 years. Right. And your vision when you started is probably very different to your vision now.
So different.
Yeah. And for me as well, I was retrenched. And so I just needed to make some money. And then, it took me a while. But then once I got a hold of that vision, the big picture vision has actually stayed with me. But it has morphed because the market changed, or how old I was, or how I wanted to work, or who I wanted to work with, and all that changed. And as a result of that, then the products and services changed, and the way we market changes, and the type of team members we need. But if we're sort of sitting down, if I picture it kind of as a top to bottom, and that the vision is kind of the primary thing, and then the daily tasks and what we do are kind of down the bottom. They're not as important as them all being directed to one powerful, compelling vision, which in Steve Jobs' words was a vision that pulls you forward. A vision that pulls you forward, so that you're never thinking, oh gosh, I've got to do this business thing again today.
Yes, which might come every now and again, but as long as it's fleeting.
That's right. Yes, we all have those days. And we've talked a little bit about, mindset and the inner game of business. We've talked a little bit about the outer game of business, systems, people, profit. What do you do to keep yourself on track with both the inner and the outer game? So both developing your skills, but also developing your mind.
Yeah, and I think it's crucial, both of them. And I think I've found myself at certain points in my business journey where I'll be focusing more on the outer when really I needed to be more on the inner. And so what I've learned is to have a really consistent daily practice. That can change, but I guess the main things that I always come back to is I have a daily meditation practice, and finding one that works for me. Like, I've struggled with the whole meditation thing for a long time, but there's so many different ways that you can do it. So that I make sure I read some sort of book each day to start the day, to separate myself from mum mode to business mode. Exercise has been absolutely key for me. I notice on the days where I sit a lot or I'm on screen and that sort of thing that I'm not the best person I can be. So they're probably the three things that I do consistently that have helped me personally, internally. And then the outer game has really come down to being in the right networks, masterminds, mentoring, other businesses that are striving. Do you know what I mean? That has made such a difference to me because you learn if you do that.
Absolutely. And I've had peer-to-peer accountability groups, masterminds, similar to you. I've always sought those out because the conversations are so rich, and I never have to feel like I'm doing it all on my own. And I get so much great input of ideas, of sounding board, of I just couldn't have grown my businesses without them.
I agree. I really couldn't have. They've been key.
What skills or mindset shifts do you feel you might need to make in order to get to whatever your next level of growth is?
So I think I'm back to really working on me again. I've noticed that it comes in like a cycle. So even though you're ascending in whatever way you're ascending, you come across the same sort of issues at different levels. And so I've really, committed to working on myself, looking at what skills I need to be better for my team, and also what I really, really want to do in terms of what is the impact that I want to have, how do I want to show up, am I really doing the best that I can, or am I potentially spread a little bit too thin? So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm. And, you're the constant, right? And how we show up, like we have, as you know, we have these 8 areas of business that we mentor to, that we teach across, and most of them are outer game: marketing and sales, planning, systems, people, money. But one of the zones is called the U growth zone. And I feel like it's the most important, because if we're not taking care of ourselves, our confidence, our grit, the people around us, then the rest is it doesn't really matter, because we're not going to get where we want to go. I want to ask you, this just keeps popping into my head, Laura, so I'm just going to go back to profit.
Go for it.
Why? Because I do find that women, they don't do a budget, or it gets too hard, or they don't know their numbers, or they just haven't looked at their numbers for ages. Tell me why, if you really want to grow a business, say from $100,000 to scale it to whatever you want, why is it so important that we know about our numbers?
it's the blueprint to everything. Numbers tell a story. Numbers tell you, what's working, what's not. You can, it actually, for me, I find it quite creative. Yes, I'm a numbers person, I admit it. But in terms of I really enjoy putting the dream numbers in around the income that I'd like to earn and what sort of expenses I'd like to incur to reach that goal and that sort of thing. So approaching it from more of this is my blueprint. I get to create it, but what does it look like if I choose to do this or not that and that sort of thing. And it pretty quickly tells you, one, if it's going to be a lot of work, and two, if it still lights you up or not, and whether what you think is going to bring income could potentially bring that income and what the profitability is like. And so I think rather than stressing over understanding every single thing, you can start with the bigger picture, like what revenue do you want? Right. What is the profitability that you'd like to see? And what expenses do you absolutely need to get there? And then as you get more comfortable, that can get refined and you can seek help. And a lot of the time we get in our own way, again, because of our mindset around it than anything else.
And finances is not a strength of mine and never was. Well, in the beginning, because I have a business partner who's really good with numbers, I would just do the marketing and, I would just go creating my wonderful creations. But I knew that if I was going to be in business for a long time, and I'm coming up to 28 years just in this business, I don't know what that is, 94. I started, so probably, a bit longer than that.
I've got so much to learn from you, Susie. That's an awesome amount of time in business.
And for the first 2 years, the money side of things eluded me. I thought, I'll just keep bringing in money.
Yeah.
I didn't think about, what happens when I don't feel like slogging myself to bring in more money? How am I going to create wealth other than that? And then I started to create systems and support around me, reports that I get so that I don't have to know every little detail, but I get a snapshot of the business frequently so that I can see if something's out of kilter. I care about making sales. I used to sort of move away from making sales. I was like, if I become a good enough marketer, the sales will come. And I thought, no, you've got to ask for the sale. So just that psychology, going back to you saying you work on you. I think each of us, if we're not seeing the numbers in the bank account that we want to be seeing, we need to uncover, is it a skill set? Is it our product range? Is it a mindset? Is it that you just need the support, the sounding board, the structure? And that's why I love that you support people with Profit First, because it gives them a structure. And once they know the structure and they work within the structure, then from there they can get a little more creative, but they have the foundations and they're putting their profit first. I love this conversation.
On that note, just one thing on profit, because I know that with the word profit can come a lot of some subconscious feelings, beliefs, stories. And I know that working with people, profit is seen as greedy because you think of corporations.
That's great. Tell me more. I love this. I love this. Yes.
And I would say this, if you change the word profit to purpose, what could you do? And what I mean by that is the more profitable you are, the more wealth creation is there for you to give back to yourself, your family, intergenerational wealth, give back to your community, meaning you can offer free things to people. You can offer scholarships and all of that. Because if you're not profitable, you can't. So being profitable allows you to do the things that you otherwise would kill your business over, really, if you didn't have that profit in there. And we forget that the profitability is actually what allows you to be really purposeful with your money.
Thank you so much for bringing that into the conversation. I knew that we were circling back to the topic because there was something that had to emerge, and I think that was it. That was it. Laura, as you know, at HerBusiness, our tagline is do what you love every day. What does it look like when you're doing what you love in your business?
The biggest thing that I love doing in my business is having conversations and teaching people. And they're the only things that I really want to be doing in my business. And that's what I do. And of course, coffee.
And which? Coffee?
And of course, coffee as well. Yes.
Thank you so much for being part of our summit and for everything that you brought to this interview. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Susie. It's been awesome to be here.
Well, hey there, that wraps up our conversation with Laura. Do check her out at profitfirstaustralia.com.au and over on her website as well. Now, she's got a little bit of a tricky last name, so I'm going to put the details over on our show notes page, and I'll give you the link to that in just a moment. But Laura's insights on profitability, on mindset, on personal growth, I feel are invaluable for any woman entrepreneur looking to grow her business. And I love what she said about being profitable allows you to do the things that you otherwise would kill your business over if you didn't have the profit in there. And we forget that profitability, she says, is actually what allows you to be really purposeful with your money, right? Having that profit, it allows you to do the things that you want to do, whether that is buying the things that you want, whether it's putting it back into the business, whether it's taking your family on a vacation, whether it's giving to a cause. If you're not profitable, it's really hard to do that. So I really support women in turning their thinking around and starting to think profit, 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 profit. So let's take these lessons and apply them to our growing businesses. And speaking of learning and growing, I want to let you know that inside the Her Business Network, Laura and women just like her are getting the support, the systems, the feedback and the knowledge to keep growing, to keep thinking better and to create stronger foundations. Now, Laura's an established business owner, but if you're a business owner who's doing $100,000 or you can just see it's in your sight, it's so close, but you want to go to $200,000 and $250,000 and $500,000 and higher, then you want to be inside. You want to be on the inside of the Her Business Network. And right now you can join us by heading over to HerBusinessNetwork.com. Now, like I said, in a moment I'm going to give you some more details that you can find out more about what Laura does. But I did want to give a quick shout out to Tamara Kemp. She's one of our members. She's actually an astrology and numerology expert based in Sydney, but working with clients all over. And she recently listened to episode 237 of the show. She said, fantastic episode with our fearless leader. That would be me. She said she highly recommends listening. So thank you, Tamara, for being a listener of the show and really appreciate you giving the show a shout out. So I want to thank you for joining me. I want to let you know that you can find more details about Laura and anything else we mentioned here on the show over at herbusiness.com/242. This is episode 242. So that's herbusiness.com/242. I love doing this show for you. I appreciate you listening and sharing the show with your friends. We have lots more great guests coming up. And so I encourage you, if you don't already subscribe to the show, to hit that subscribe button. And if you're a business owner who wants to scale your 6-figure business into a 7-figure business and you're ready to do that, then join us inside the Her Business Network. The details again are herbusinessnetwork.com. I'll see you next time right here on the Her Business podcast. Bye for now.